Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. I'm Amethyst Moonflower, and today, since it is the new moon in Capricorn, I am going to be doing a journal entry with you guys in my moon journal here. We're going to be doing a moon journal entry for the new moon in Capricorn. So, grab yourself a cup of tea or a coffee or a soda or whatever it is that you would like to have. Maybe get some art supplies if you feel like journaling along with me. This is a little bit longer video than what I normally do, but it's a longer video, and it's all about art and magic and where I'm at in my journey and just talking with you guys. So if you're interested, go ahead and like, subscribe, hit the bell, and yeah, let's dive in. Hello and welcome. And so today we are going to be working on my moon journal, which, you know, is kind of like an extension off of the Book of Shadows that I'm making, but this is kind of more like a personal journal. I got just a little bit of information in the beginning that's just about like the moon and stuff, but the majority of this journal that I'm planning on doing with is kind of making it more like an art journal or like a self-exploratory type journal. And so today I thought it would be fun to kind of walk you through my process of making my pages for my moon journal. And since today is the new moon in Capricorn, we're going to be doing new moon in Capricorn, and it's technically the date is Wednesday, January 13th of 2021. So, you know, today is actually my mother's birthday. My mother is a twin, and she's a Capricorn, and the new moon happened to land on her birthday. So I'm going to be, I already, as you can see, I sketched out sort of the design that I was going to be doing, but some of this you can do, if you plan on doing something similar to this, working along with me, you know that you are more than welcome, and I would love to see what you've created. You can do it however you want. You can do the symbol, you can do whatever. And when it comes to art, I've always kind of just like, there's so many different materials and supplies that you can use to make art, and depending on the flow that I'm going with will depend on the materials that I'm using. But today I'm going to be having some watercolor, which is just cheap Crayola watercolor, and I got my case of pens here because I will probably be doing some line work, and you know, you're obviously going to be needing like a pencil, some paint brushes, or if like you want to do marker work, then you're going to need some markers. And I also have like my jug of black paint because I'm going to be using some black, and you might want to also get some like masking tape for the if you're going to be using paint. It's always better to tape your picture down, and whatever supplies you might need. So I'm going to move my journal out of the way, and just as a reference, the journal that I'm using is just a little cheap journal, and it's I think it's a 6x8, which, let me check. Yeah, it's 6x8. So just a little cheap journal that I have here, and I just cut my paper down to a little bit smaller than the actual page, just because it makes it that much easier. And so I'm going to start off here, and by the way, I'm using mixed media paper in case you're wondering. I mean, you could go with watercolor if you want, but I kind of feel like watercolor is just a little too thick for what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna get this going. I'm going to get this tape down nice and straight so you guys can get a clear view. And one thing is that I've found when working in journals and stuff like that is, you know, it's a journal. It's not really meant for anybody else. except for yourself. So, you know, and especially like when creating art as well, you know, I've been making art my whole life, and it's really just best to not compare yourself to anybody else, you know, and to just do it what feels good for you, and to not judge your own work too much, to just kind of like go with the flow of making the art or writing or whatever it is that you're doing in your journal. So there we go, we got it taped down so we can get started here. And I drew the picture off because it just, you know, that part is kind of pretty self-explanatory. Just get the design down how you want it, how you like it. Get all your supplies and everything. And so I think I'm going to start this off with my watercolor. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to do the background first or if I'm going to do but I think I'm going to do the actual Capricorn first here. So, and also, you know, when it comes to watercolor or any kind of painting, you always want to make sure that you have, you know, all your stuff ready before you get started. But, you know, I'm not the best with animals, and I'm kind of just going to guess my way through this whole process. So I'm just going to get some of this brown here and see how this looks. You know what? I'll be right back. Another tip to do that I've learned is that if you're not sure, you can always grab a scrap just to test it and see if you like it before you go in. But I'm going to... Are horns darker or lighter? See, that's the question. Yep, see? But you know what? I'm not going to judge it. I'm just going to start by painting the goat. Now, New Moon in Capricorn has always kind of been a little bit of an easier moon for myself, just because I'm not really sure why. It's probably because it's an earth sign, and you know, I'm a Pisces, I'm a water sign, my mother's a Capricorn, so it wasn't always like the easiest upbringing, you know, because she's always was very like strict and had a lot of expectations. And like one thing I can say, like if I'm going to be comparing, you know, my idea of Capricorn energy is that they don't really have much when it comes to like imagination. You know, they're very practical people. They like things to go the way that they believe that things should go. They don't really care for change much, you know. They're very like to stick to traditions or the way that they was brought up and stuff like that. And so being a Pisces and growing up being raised by a Capricorn mother, you know, I did struggle a lot with my relationship with her, just because, you know, I was so dreamy, and I always was like, you know, just pushing. Well, I was very dreamy, but I also had like a big imagination, and I was kind of introverted, and I did things differently. I thought things differently, you know, and that could be a lot with my Aquarius moon as well, you know, the thinking differently part and the wanting to be different from everybody else. But I was very imaginative growing up, and my mom, you know, didn't really respond very well to that kind of, you know, to my energy all the time, because she wanted everything to be practical. She wanted everything to go the way she thought everything should go. I mean, she supported me when it came to like being she always knew that I was an artist, and she supported me in that, and she still does. She loves my art. But, you know, when it comes to the fact that, you know, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm running my own business and stuff like that, like, or at least trying to do the best that I can, you know, with everything, she's like, oh my gosh, working at home, like, in her mind, that she would never think to do anything like that. Like, she's just like, why don't you just get a job? That's like her whole premise. Get your shit together, get a job. and that's always how she thought about everything growing up, was just responsibility and having a job, you know, going to school and doing things the way she was always taught that that's how things are supposed to go. And it was very hard for her to imagine that there could be other possibilities besides just the same stuff all the time. And here I'm still going to be using the brown, but I'm going to be kind of doing a little mixing here to try and see if I can get a slightly different shade of brown, you know. I'm going to try this a little bit. And like I said, you know, I never went to school for art. I've kind of always just been very experimental and just trying to do something new and stuff like that all the time. I think I'm going to use this one. This one seems like it'll work. So, you know, I can give you tips only based off of what I know and what I've learned and what I've tried and stuff like that. But a lot of times it is just experimenting and not being afraid to try new things, you know. But yeah, Capricorn energy is not bad energy, you know. Like I said, my mom is not a bad person or anything like that. It's just sometimes, because they can be a little stern and a little closed-minded, sometimes it can be a little hard for people who are outside the box thinkers to kind of get along with Capricorns, I feel like, you know, because they're all about just doing it the way that they think it should be done, and their idea of what success is, you know. I believe that some Capricorns might have more creative energy in them, depending on, you know, where their you know, where their planets are in their birth chart, you know, what their moon and their rising is, might affect, you know, their ability to be more creative and maybe think outside the box a little bit more. But I'm not really too sure exactly what my mom's chart looks like, because I never really looked it up. But I can imagine that, you know, I think my mom just has a lot of earth in her chart, which, you know, kind of makes her a lot more stubborn. And my younger brother, he's a Taurus, so they're both kind of got the, you know, the horns, and they've clashed a lot when I was growing up, so, you know. But here I'm going to be using this. I think it's black, but I'm going to try and make it kind of a little bit grayer here for the horns. And things might be a little muddy in the beginning, but I kind of feel like when it comes to, like, certain artworks, you know, line work really finishes it off in the end. And when it comes to watercolor, you know, you kind of have to be really careful with not trying to put too much detail in, especially in, like, the first layer. If you want to do a bunch of detail, you know, you got to let things dry and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, just being very slow and steady and cautious with the paint to just kind of like get it where you want it. And I'm gonna give really dark brown eyes. And I've never done a video like this before, but I was like, you know what, I noticed when I'm looking at, you know, the videos that I've been making and sharing on my YouTube channel, like the one or two videos that get the most views out of all of the things that I've done. I mean, like, I don't have like a ton of views on a lot of things, but the ones that do get the views are my Book of Shadow book videos. So, you know, I love my Book of Shadows, and I love working in my Book of Shadows, and I did not make my Book of Shadows for anybody else other than myself. I just love it so much that I just really love sharing it with people. Like, I am not afraid to show my Book of Shadows to anybody. I've heard of, you know, sometimes you hear people saying, oh, you're not supposed to share your Book of Shadows because of this or because of that. But to me, it's just a book full of, you know, my knowledge and my journey and the things that I like to study and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not afraid to share my Book of Shadows, and I love watching Book of Shadow videos on YouTube and art videos and journaling videos and just getting all these different ideas. And I love watching people do things like what I'm doing right now. It's so calming and relaxing, and it inspires me to try new things all the time, and I get so many questions on my Book of Shadow videos and compliments and stuff, so I'm thinking that I might be doing more stuff like this, you know, with my art process or my page process, my journal process, and just kind of like sharing it with you guys, because you guys seem to really enjoy it, and I hope that you enjoy, you know, watching me. And it's just really awkward because I'm not used to, you know, not being on the camera, and I'm not used to talking to people while I'm making my art, you know. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, what do you talk about, you know? What do you talk about? And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I kind of want to expand my video, or my channel, I mean. That's, I've mentioned it before. I kind of feel like it would be a lot easier to have these kinds of conversations in a live, because I can see your guys' response, and I would be able to talk to you, you know, as it happens, or as I do things and answer questions and comments and things like that. But we're going to try this. I'm going to see how you guys enjoy it and see if this is a good idea, how you guys respond. It's kind of like a beta test, I guess you can say. And I'm just kind of like going in and adding a little bit. I know you can't, it's hard to do so much detail with watercolor. I've seen a lot of people do some great detail with watercolor, but I'm still kind of in a learning process when it comes to watercolor. So, you know, but it's still fun to do a little bit. I'm trying to add a little bit of shading on here so that it kind of adds a little bit more depth and definition on the character here, on the Capricorn. I don't want it to be too flat. Alright, well, I'm not going to do too much more with that at the moment, because now I think I'm going to go on to the black. Let me see if I can find a brush that I want to use for the black part. That one might be too big. Well, I don't know. I might use two brushes just because, you know. That's the thing about, you know, sometimes you gotta look at the spacing. And I'm just going to do a little cheat here, and I'm just going to put a little bit in the lid, because that's how I am. I'm going to put a little bit of black in the lid here, and I'm going to just dab into it. Oh my, I just made a big old mess on myself. Ah. Alright, I'm back. Anywho, let's see. And this is one of the reasons why I like using this brush, is because it's kind of a little, it looks almost too big, but it's got a really nice point on it. I'm going to move this over here so I don't keep putting my hand in it. And it's actually almost good enough. Sometimes I might use a slightly smaller brush, but I kind of like this one. I use it a lot. But I might be having to get a new one soon because the tip is starting to get a little frayed. Because I do use it a lot. Sorry if I got quiet there for a minute. I was just kind of focusing and trying to think of something that we should probably talk about. I know I have a lot of different things on my mind. To kind of give you guys a little bit of an update of what's been going on in my life. Last week I joined a Norse pagan Facebook group, and they do a lot of teaching and a lot of, educating. And I've been really enjoying it, it's just kind of interesting because, my whole time I've been like a pagan or a witch, Wiccan, I used to be consider myself a Wiccan, but not anymore. I've grown out of that path. I'm definitely just a lot more of just like pagan witch than I used to be. But the Norse community or religion has kind of piqued my interest a lot. I mean, I know I got family, or at least like my lineage, my ancestors came from that side of the world, that area, a little bit more around like Finland and stuff like that. So, when it comes to like my background, well, and I also have like Irish in me too, so I got a little bit of the Celtic and stuff like that. Like that's where my family came from. And sorry, I'm really struggling right here because I can't turn my paper and I'm right-handed, so I'm trying really hard to get these lines right and not mess it up with coming in from the wrong direction. But yeah, so I've just been kind of like interested in learning about the Norse just because, I kind of feel like it seems natural for me to kind of go that direction. But because I'm so open-minded about a lot of things, it kind of makes it a little hard for me to want to say, 100% this is who I am and this is what I like I don't really care for labels a lot, and I keep myself really open to a lot of different things, and I don't want to just stick to one way, one path. I feel like there's so much to learn, not just the Norse, but I am enjoying learning because there's a lot of history, there's a lot of studying, and I really get into that kind of stuff. I like learning and new things and new pantheons and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting because the Norse, there's a lot of information out there that you can find. You can buy all kinds of books, and there's a lot of information online that you can find, but some of the best stuff when it comes to their culture and their belief system and stuff like that, they kind of keep a little bit more behind doors when it comes to actually being a part of the group and knowing certain things. I mean, they're open, they'll accept you, but then they're also kind of like, well, if you're going to be in here, you have to really be committed to learning and learning the real way that it's supposed to be done, and not just, going about it on your own and trying to figure it out on your own, which is perfectly fine. It's a different approach than what I'm used to, because normally everything that I have learned, I've learned on my own. I've never had a mentor or a group that really will, teach you a lot of different things specific to their path, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really cool learning about, all the different aspects of the runes and gods and goddesses and stuff like that, their deities, and, their belief structure, and, all that kind of stuff. And at first it was really intimidating, I must say. The Norse are wonderful, beautiful people, but they can be a little intimidating. I'm not used to being around so much powerful warrior energy at the same time. I'm kind of a soft spoken person most of the time. I mean, I can get passionate, but I wouldn't consider myself like the warrior type. At least not really so much. I'm more like, I get more into like shaman type stuff, and I'm very, solitude and book learning and art, as you can see, and the Norse really are kind of in your face about a lot of things, and it was a little intimidating, but then I realized, what, Kayla, don't compare yourself to anybody else. If you're here to learn, then just learn, and I find it better to just sit back and be a little quiet and just pay attention, looking from the outside in. And, I don't have to be that way. I don't have to be a warrior goddess or a shield maiden in order to learn and grow and all that stuff. So that's another thing. But I must say, the Norse has a pretty big, shaman witchcraft background, but it's not as well known, at least not in our area. Like, I live in northern Indiana. You don't hear or find information about that a lot. It's not like there's a bunch of Norse shaman witches running around in my area, so I never really was aware until I joined this group that there really is a lot of history in there, and there's a lot to learn in that, and that really excites me too, because like I said, that's kind of more of the stuff that I'm interested in learning about, and hopefully I'll be able to find a mentor that really kind of gets where I'm coming from, because sometimes I find it hard to explain things. I'm in my head a lot. And there we go. So we got my black moon. I'm going to clean my brush out. Alright, so my picture is pretty wet, so I'm going to come back here in a few minutes and we'll get this done, but it's going to be like a second for you, so I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back. My picture is pretty much dry, and I'm going to try and speed this up just a little bit, but you know, you can only go so fast. But I'm going to trying to find the right brush. I think I'm going to use this one. No, it's too stiff. This one should be good. But I'm going to get this background done here, and I'm going to just kind of splish it around. Now I'm kind of just trying to make kind of like a blurry type of background that's kind of like very watery. I really don't want to give it kind of any rhyme or reason. Just I'm using a lot of green because Capricorn is an earth sign, so I'm sticking with the green theme, which is good for me. And blending the colors together to just kind of like give it that vibe. And then one of the things that I like to do to kind of create a slight effect is that I'll just take some water and I'll just kind of drop the water onto the paper like this, and it kind of makes it even more, well, might need a little bit more over here just to kind of get it as close as I can to the moon, but it seems like it's repelling, but that's okay. But the water gives it a really nice effect. I think it makes it look almost more watery. And this is a technique that I use a lot when it comes to backgrounds and stuff, just because I kind of think it adds a little bit more what's missing. And then we'll have to wait for this to dry before I can do the line work. So I'll be back here in a minute when this is dry and we're going to do the line work. Well, it's mostly dried, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here on doing the line work. I am using my 3 micron pen. Now, like I said, I'm not trying to be perfect because this is just an exploratory journal art entry, and that's something that I encourage everyone to do, especially if you're just getting into journaling or art or something like that. That, you know, there's a lot of amazing artists out there, but you know that a lot of the stuff is just technique and practice. But art doesn't always have to be about technique. I mean, there are some amazing art out there that, you know, is completely abstract, or, you know, it's just, art is an expression. It's not always meant to be perfect, but a lot of times when it comes to learning how to do art or journal or something like that, it's just the act of doing versus it being perfect. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to show here, is that, you know, these are not going to be prints or pictures I'm going to be making for prints to sell on my Etsy or anything like that. I'm not trying to, you know, make them pristine or anything like that. I'm just doing for the art of enjoyment. And another thing that I can point or make a comment on is, you know, the same kind of goes in magic, or, you know, having a spiritual journey or something like that. You know, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do something for, like, every new moon. We have to have, like, a big elaborate ritual or something like that. And the truth is, you don't need to do anything that doesn't feel right for you. And a lot of times, you know, for new moons and full moons, I may not have a big elaborate ritual. I mean, I host circles with my group, and that's a lot of work to constantly be keeping up with rituals for, you know, my local pagan group, which I absolutely love doing, and I'm not going to stop doing anytime soon. But sometimes when it's just something for myself, that these are the kinds of things that I do when it comes to what I do in my own practice. A lot of what I do in my own practice is very exploratory, because I kind of feel like that's where, you know, we do the most growth, is through exploration, through trial and error, through doing what feels right in the moment, and you know, just enjoying the process. You know, not every moon feels good. I have learned that over the years, that there are some moons that affect me not in the best way, you know, whether it be how the stars are aligned or whatever, you know, or the, you know, the fire signs kind of get to me sometimes, you know, in my own, the way they make me feel and stuff. So I can be really low energy, and, you know, what I need isn't necessarily a big thing. It can be something as simple as taking a bath and making myself feel good, or you know, journaling, working in my book of shadows, making a piece of art. You know, that all too is magical. It's all magic. It's just your intention. It's just what feels right and good to you and what you need at that time. You know, some people may feel called to do something elaborate, and some people may be called to do nothing at all and just sleep and take a nap, and all of that is perfectly fine. And to not judge and compare your spiritual journey or the things that you do in your practice to what other people are doing. You know, I know it's been brought up before with, you know, social media and stuff like that. There's so much comparison going on, and that's not just in, like, the magical, witchy, spiritual, woo-woo space of you know, what's expected for new moons and full moons and blah blah blah, but also, you know, in the art world as well, you know, learning not to compare your art and your journey and your expression to somebody else's, you know, especially when you're not doing it for anybody else except for yourself. Yeah, things might not be realistic, things might not be perfect, but that's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with just being happy with where you're at and enjoying the process. So, and that was, look at how quick and easy I did the line work. You know, I mean, I already had the sketch and I already did the color, and but I'm not being too perfect about it. I'm not taking too much time. I'm just getting it out there, getting it done, and enjoying it. And maybe sometimes I might take more time. I might be more precise. I might be, you know, one way or another. But today I'm not. Today I'm just enjoying myself and enjoying spending time with you and making a video for my YouTube channel, making content, and that kind of stuff. So, you know, being in the present, being in the moment, and being happy with where you're at and what you're doing and that kind of stuff. And I may come in here and add some scales, but I'm not going to be I don't think I'm going to do all that. I think I'm just might add a few stars just because. There. And I think I'm going to call that done for now. You know what? Maybe I will just add some scales. And don't ask me what this music is. I have no idea. I haven't changed my music in a while, so it's kind of just doing whatever, and I do that sometimes. Like I have a certain type of music that I like to listen to, but it was on one thing and I guess it ended, and now it's on this, and I haven't checked it to change it, so now it's playing some goofy music. But that's okay. Now we got some scales. Might as well clean it up. There we go. So, this is my picture. And we're going to peel it. And then I'm going to just tape it in. I would say, like, if you're going to add it in, you know, probably use like a glue stick or some double-sided tape or whatever, but for my paper, I know a glue stick won't hold it, and I don't have any double-sided tape, so I'm just using clear tape, which is fine. I'm not going to worry too much about it, because like I said, I'm not going to be too terribly picky. That kind of worked out about how it goes in or anything like that. Like, it's just to enjoy. And for the other side, I'm just going to probably journal. There we go. Yeah, on this side, I'm just going to do some journaling, and I have this nice picture that I came up with for you guys. And then I probably, if you guys like watching me do these kinds of things, or if you want to see more art along with me or anything like that, just let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and what you guys are going to be doing for the new moon, or if you have any art or whatever. I'm probably going to take a picture and post it on my Instagram and everything like that. So, but yeah, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment, all that type of stuff, and all the links to my social medias and everything will be in the bio. So thank you all for joining me and taking time out of your day to watch me make some art, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.